Alright, this project is going to be about memory construction, and it's going to focus primarily on that of improving one's memory. It's by myself, Mike Christella, Erica Bennetson, Bassem Saleh, and Elizabeth Lillo. We're going to begin with misinformation and imagination effects. Now, sometimes when we're committing something to our memory, we tend to fill in unknown parts with fake events that didn't actually occur, or we over-dramatize an event with little accuracy to what actually took place. We see this a lot in examples with eyewitnesses giving testimony in court or giving a report of what they saw to a news reporter or something where you would see them on TV. There may have been a bunch of people that watched the same event go down, but when they're trying to recall that information, there may be variances in their stories. We can credit this to the misinformation effect, and that's when we're incorporating misleading information into our own memory of an event. Now, when we read incorrect information that doesn't actually happen to us, we can often experience the imagination inflation effect. This is when we repeatedly imagine something happening to us, and then later on down the line, we remember and look back on it as if it actually occurred. And naturally, we have a study to back this up. A study was basically performed with a bunch of American and British university students, and basically they were told to imagine a childhood event of having a skin sample removed from their hand after they broke it on a window. Now, they were repeatedly told this over and over again, and after the study actually wrapped up, when they were asked to imagine this event, they actually recalled it as being true and actually happening to them. The next thing that we're going to look at is source amnesia. And source amnesia is very fascinating because this and the misinformation effect are considered the source of many false memories that we obtain. And basically what it is it's when we attribute to the wrong source of an event that we've experienced, read about, imagined, or heard about it. An example of this would be hearing a noise to later recall that you actually saw it. Now, with all of these psychological effects having influences on our memory, it can be hard to discern true and false as to what actually occurred to us. Now, true memories tend to contain more detail, and false memories can be very persistent, and we tend to falsely remember the overall gist of something rather than the specific details. We can look at something like an eyewitness testimony again. They're often not very accurate, and they tend to overestimate or underestimate what actually occurred depending on previous emotions. We can also look towards a different situation, such as the example of depending on how a relationship may have turned out, the memory of first impressions may have changed over time. We can also directly relate this to hindsight bias. Overall, we mostly don't recall things as we had experienced them. Now let's take a look at children's eyewitness recall. Children's reports are not always very accurate, as many people have experienced in their actual lives. They tend to report what they hear rather than what they actually see. Preschoolers were asked to recall an event that never actually occurred to them. Now, when they were asked to do this, 58% of them produced false stories to back up the event that never happened. Now, when we're questioning children, it's been found that it's more effective to use neutral words in your questioning. Next up, we're going to take a look at repressed or constructed memories of abuse. Many people do not tell their secret of being abused to people because they are often afraid that people won't believe that this actually occurred to them. Now, in one American survey, the average therapist estimated that 11% of the population, some 34 million people, have repressed memories of childhood sexual abuse. People who represent abused children and those who stand for wrongly accused adults share some common beliefs amongst each other. Some of these are abuse and injustice do occur, memories do resurface, some recovered memories are unreliable, and also that memories are emotionally upsetting whether they did or did not actually occur. Okay, now people forget things all the time. You've probably been in a position where you meet someone and then a couple minutes later you can't remember their name, or you misplace something that you just had possession of, or you're sitting down to take a test or a quiz and then you completely forget a piece of information that you knew 10-15 minutes ago. There are actually many strategies that we can employ to help remember things much more efficiently. Okay, so we're going to wrap up our presentation by taking a look at some of these strategies that we can employ to improve memory. To begin, by studying repeatedly, as in separating study sessions over an elongated period of time, we can greatly improve the amount of information that we process for the long term. Making the material more meaningful, apply concepts and new material to your own life, use mnemonic devices like coming up with stories that incorporate words or new information, and definitely, we need to sleep more because our brain works out the information for long-term memory during sleep. By cutting back the hours at which we're sleeping each night, we're also cutting back the information that we're obtaining for long-term memory. And finally, we can test our knowledge. By testing knowledge, you go back and you review things that you already know, and you can find out what you may not know as well and need to go back and study. And with that, that concludes our presentation on memory construction, and we're going to go on with the project.